Welcome to my channel, Life After Losing My Child. On this channel, I like to talk about my own personal experiences after losing my daughter. The purpose of this channel is to have a place for those that have suffered the loss of a child can come find hope and inspiration as we all move down our own individual journeys towards healing. If this sounds good to you, then hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell to stay notified for my upcoming videos. So today I'm going to do something different. I'm actually going to talk about forgiving yourself. So I don't know how this is going to go. I have no notes. I have nothing. I'm just going to talk about, as a grieving parent, how hard it is to forgive yourself, but how important it is for us to forgive ourselves. So when you lose your child, um, you automatically begin to try to find someone or something to blame. Uh, at least I have. And those that I've talked to, they've had similar, feelings. So when you lose your child, automatically you think about what you would have done, should have done, could have done for this not to happen, for the outcome to become different. A part of that, I believe, uh, is wanting things to be different, but also you're flooded with guilt. And so with the guilt, I think it's a way to control or to believe that you had control over the situation. Because everything is out of your control, you want to have some sense of that you could have done things to make things different. So you hold on to the guilt, and you hold on to the guilt um, by saying, if I would have done this, I should have did this, I could have done that, and I've been through that with losing Brianna, and I shouldn't say have been through that. I still go through that. Um, but at the same time, I try to let myself off the hook because, we are only human and we do not control life or death. And that's an important, very important thing to understand. You do not control life or death. And it's a harsh reality because we want to control something. We want the outcome to be different, but it's not. So then sometimes you become mad at God because, or whatever you decide to believe is the creator or that is in charge of the universe, because you're like, well, they do control life and death, and why would they allow this to happen? Why, you know, would they allow my child to be taken, and they know how much I love my child? So we blame a lot. We blame, you know, maybe whatever the situation was, whether my child was sick, so whether it's the doctors, you know, whether it's the lawyers, I tried to sue the hospital, and yet I kind of found out that the lawyers were knowing the doctors, and I felt like everybody was in cahoots. The justice system, that there was no justice for any of this. Um, But more than anything, I blame myself. At the end of the day, I'm like, well, the doctors didn't see it, but at the same time, neither did I. My daughter had type 1 diabetes and she was misdiagnosed by the hospital, but I blame myself and I say, well, I was with her every day and I didn't see it. So how could I expect the doctor that was only with her for a certain amount of time in the hospital to see it? Yeah, they are the doctor. Yes, they know more than I do. And that's what everybody says. Well, you're not a doctor. They specialize in this. They should have seen it. And they should have. But at the end of the day, as a parent, you feel like you are the one that should have saved them. It's for you to have done something different. so that the outcome would have been better. Um, I blame myself for her death, but also because of the results of the death would have had what has happened in various people's lives. My daughter that's still my surviving child that's still here, I feel a lot of guilt, and I blame myself for even her grieving, for my mom grieving, for my siblings grieving. Their niece is a huge burden that I've taken on, but like I said, I try to come to terms with it. I have to forgive myself. And I realized, that if I would have known, then I would have done different. And it's really that simple. As a parent that has lost your child, knowing that if you would have known something different, then the results would have been different. But you did what you knew to do in the time with the knowledge you had, and that's it. That's it. You have to forgive yourself. I have done a lot of self-destructive behavior um, due to not forgiving myself. Uh, I've drank and drank to numb the pain, but also it was like a slow death. Like, I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to feel good. Um, I'm sorry, something popped up. So I've been in destructive relationships um, because of that as well. Just feeling like, no, I don't deserve love. I deserve what I'm getting, which is, a toxic relationship, which is to drink myself to death, which is to um, stop caring about myself. I've gained weight, just a bunch of things, because I've carried around all this guilt. So I decided no more. I got out of the relationship. Um, I've stopped drinking uh, just recently. Stopped drinking. Um, but I'm committed to that. I got a personal trainer. You know, there are things, it's a huge process. It's been 6 years and I'm just now doing all these things. I'm just now coming to terms with the fact that um, there's something on the screen. Sorry. That I'm worthy of forgiveness and I have to forgive myself. I managed to forgive everybody else. The doctor, well, they were limited with their information, um, which is, I mean, if they would have done tests, then they would have found out. So I don't know, but I've been working to forgive the doctors. As far as God, I was angry with him, but then, I've come to terms with that, and I'm not angry with him. He's allowed her to be in a place of unconditional love, joy, and peace. So I'm not angry. I think that it brought me, with losing my child, has brought me to a place of um, like so much empathy, compassion, a great perspective about life, and God has allowed me to um, be in that mindset. And so I'm grateful. Not that she passed away, but I'm grateful for the things that have transpired in her passing that I've begun to grow, you know. Um, when you lose your child, I always said that uh, as parents, we always and automatically feel kind of insecure about our parenting. Are we doing things right? Are we making the right decisions? When you lose a child, everything comes to the surface. Any insecurities you felt as a parent are magnified times 1,000, because you feel like you didn't protect that child or you couldn't save them or whatever's in your mind that you feel as though you should have done as a parent. that didn't get done are now magnified. Um, so it's a difficult road, but you have to let go. You have to let go of the guilt because we want control and we want to believe that things could have been different, but they couldn't have. You know, I played out all these scenarios. My daughter passed away suddenly. I took her to the hospital Saturday. I found her passed away in her bedroom Sunday. So I said, God, why didn't you let me know she was sick for a while? Even if you were going to take her, at least give me time to say goodbye. Let me, express to her that I loved her, all these things. But God also revealed to me, too, that if I would have done that number one, it wouldn't have been any easier. And also that I would have been so consumed with her being sick that I wouldn't have paid attention to my surviving child because I would have been consumed um, with Brianna, and emotionally I might have lost my surviving child and still lost Brianna. So because of the way my personality is, and um, it wouldn't have been on purpose. It just my focus would have been all on Brianna, and because of the way my surviving child is, she needs a lot of that emotional support. Um, you know your children differently, and I guess God does too. So He knew how I was. I guess everything happens the way that it should happen, even though we don't agree with it. I don't agree. Um, I'm not okay with Brianna being gone. That's not all right for me. But at the same time, uh, you know, I always think about she was my daughter here in this realm. She was my daughter, but there's another realm that exists, a spiritual realm. Um, and so I will see her again. It's the roles we play here. I'm hurt here because she's my daughter, but spiritually, because I will see her again, I can rejoice um, in that. So I think ways to start forgiving yourself. Um, Number one is to stop engaging in self destructive behavior. Um, or should I say, number one is to understand that you don't control life or death. Number two would be to give up the guilt, to stop trying to hold on to the guilt as a means to hold on to some sense of control. And number three would then be to stop doing destructive behavior uh, in order to punish yourself. Number four would be to start doing behavior that shows forgiveness, to be gentle with yourself. Um, in no way is forgiving people or yourself saying the situation was okay. It's not okay that your child passed at all. Um, it's not okay that you're in pain and that you feel like you're alone and you're in a pit of despair and that you feel misunderstood and that you can't even relate to society anymore because all that stuff about, you know, having money and getting a big house with a picket fence and all that means nothing. That's not fair that you experience it that way. But there is another side to it, to grief is things that you can gain out of it, and that's part of the forgiveness process is being able to step into those things that you can gain. You can gain the perspective of love, joy, understanding, kindness, gentleness towards others and towards yourself. So I encourage you today to start to, forgive yourself. Begin to forgive yourself. throughout this process. It's a difficult journey. It's a difficult thing. I'm in the midst of it now. And it's a daily fight to say it wasn't my fault. To say, no, I'm not going to um, drink myself to death today. That I'm not going to do self-harm. It's a difficult thing. So if you can identify, then leave a comment. I think this is a great discussion for us to have, and also to support one another throughout it. I need support as well. So please leave a comment. Tell me what you think and whether you agree or not, and maybe some suggestions on how you begin to forgive yourself that we can, you know, maybe try out for ourselves. So I thank you for joining me. Subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to hit the bell to stay tuned for upcoming videos. All right, thanks. Have a great day.